Hey, who's the one name that could change the approach in the Angels front office? We think we have an answer, and we're going to share it with you. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you want to give back to the Halo Bros for all the Angel content, here's what you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. We love 5 stars. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed, hit that subscription button to become a Locked On everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's the best way to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. You can make every moment more right now with FanDuel. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Just visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Mike, we're here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking Angels baseball, even through the offseason. Of course, we'll drop down to 3 around mid-December or so over the holidays and over New Year's and whatnot. But until then, you got us 5 days a week, my friends, and we're so glad that you're here and that you're a Locked On every day or with us. Hey, on today's show, nobody talks about Joe Maddon and if he would consider another managerial job. Why is that? And who do the Halo Bros see as taking over the Angels as the next Angels manager? But first, Mike, let's talk about someone that I'm rather excited about. Not a player, not a pitcher, not a position player, not a shortstop.
Yeah.
Somebody for the Angels front office, potentially, Kim Ng. Let's talk about her.
Yeah, she stepped down from her position with the Marlins, and the story is they wanted to hire somebody to oversee her, and she wasn't very fond of that. And now this is the second kind of really well-known name that has stepped away from the Marlins. The first, of course, being Derek Jeter. It sounds like there is just a different of philosophies when it comes to the front office and what they want to achieve. John, it seems strange that they wouldn't want her to take a more prominent role because the evidence says that she's pretty good in the job that she was doing. The team that she took over in 2021 was bad, and she built a playoff team in 2 seasons. In 2023, the Marlins made the playoffs as a wild card. And John, there's been a lot of conversations about if the Angels would be interested, and we did see some rumblings and some rumors that there have been some talks between them or some potential talks.
Well, potential for a president of baseball operations, above Perry Minasian, which is where Kim Ng would want to be if she were to get hired somewhere, I believe.
Right. And I think that it would be a smart move on the Angels' part to at least consider her and have a sit down. John, share a little bit about Kim Ng and some stats, some stories behind her story.
She's got a lot of experience, Mike. She began with the Chicago White Sox as an intern after college. She was researching Rule 5 draftees, and this was 1990, and she really loved the data and analytics and statistics and kind of breaking down the scouting reports. That was something she was really into. She was a special projects analyst and then an assistant director of baseball operations, hired on full-time with the White Sox after that internship. She worked in the offices of the American League in 1997. She was the director of waivers and records. Now you know that that's a job in the American League offices.
All right.
She was an assistant general manager in 1998, hired by Brian Cashman of the Yankees. Then she became a vice president and assistant GM with the Dodgers. She actually interviewed for GM from 2005 to 2020 for several teams, including the Dodgers, the Mariners, the Padres, the Giants, and the Angels. I forgot that she had put her name into the hat for, was it for the opening after Billy Epler, or was it the opening after Jerry DiPoto, or was it the opening after Tony Regan's? Was it after Bill Stone? I'm just trying to think out loud here. Gee, I don't know which opening it was after, but she did interview for that. Mike, in 2011, she became a senior vice president of baseball operations for Major League Baseball. November 2020, she got the Marlins GM job and took over for that 2021 season. Now, there was some reporting from somebody who follows the Marlins. Barry Jackson said that philosophical differences might have played a part in why there was a departure from Kim Ng. This is a tweet from Barry Jackson. Per sources, the Marlins let go of director of amateur scouting DJ Shivlik. That's a tough name to say. DJ, the amateur scouting director, was let go. One of the contrasts and visions between Bruce Sherman, the owner, and Ng, we're told, is that Sherman wanted to replace the amateur scout because the Marlins draft hasn't produced much with position players, and Kim Ng actually wanted to keep him. Now, as far as her track record goes, Mike, like you mentioned before, she got this team to the playoffs in just about 3 years, going from a bad team in 2021. They got lucky in 2020. That was pre-her, but that was also the COVID year. They picked up a ton of waiver wire guys. Everybody on the Marlins got COVID, so they had to replace all those guys. But she did hire Skip Shoemaker as the manager. She promoted him to manager. And I think she also had, in terms of results, the best trade deadline of any GM in baseball by getting Josh Bell, Jake Berger, and David Robertson. Mike, she also made the trade for your favorite, Luis Arraez. So she was behind that as well. Mike, I think that is most of the criticism that I've seen levied towards her in this whole Marlins situation, is that, yes, maybe some of the draft picks haven't been that great. In fact, I believe I saw Peter Pratt from Locked On Marlins talking about, like, could that have been what caused the rift? And it seems like we got some confirmation there. But Mike, you pair her up as Perry's boss and make her president of baseball operations, and pair her up with Perry Minasian, who knows scouting very well with his own experience and has had some great results in the draft. I think that could be a pretty good combination, right?
Yeah, I think there's a big giant brick wall in her way, and that's John Carpino, right? And he has been the president of baseball operations with the Angels.
He's team president. So it's not necessarily that that's true, a president of baseball operations. Because let's be real, the GM that the Angels have had over the last pretty much their whole existence is the president of baseball operations.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
To add her voice to the room. And like, I know people are going to take this the wrong way, and I hope you do. Adding a woman's voice to the room as well, with a bunch of bonehead dudes that have been running this team the last 20 years. Like, add Kim Ng's experience, add her expertise, add her to the room, bring her in, let her have a seat at the table, especially working with Perry Minasian. I think it's a home run.
Yeah, I do too. I think that they've been doing the same thing the same way for so many years, and this would be a very different approach. And the only concern, again, I would have would be John Carpino. But if they let baseball people do baseball things, and she is the president of baseball operations, and she's working with Perry Minasian, and then Carpino's over on the other side doing his thing,
whatever it is that he does,
exactly, like make us mad is what he does. And I think that could be a win for the Angels, and it could be. My gosh, I think we could see some impact with this team. And I get that it's a big wish, it's a big maybe, but having her on this team, I think, would be a really wise decision. And, you know, I look back at the Marlins, and I know that there's some questions about their draft picks, but I look at their pitching staff and I'm like, they did pretty well there. Right. And you know, I think if you're going to draft well, that's where you want to draft well, because you can pitch. You can trade from your pitching depth and be able to get the pieces that you need. And she has made some really great trades, like the Luis Arraez trade, and he has made a huge impact in Florida for the Marlins. And so, gosh, man, I would love to see her come over. I know that it's still ethereal. I know it's still rumors, but I think that she would add a whole lot to this team.
You know, she did turn down the opportunity to interview with the Red Sox, and you know that she is going to want a president of baseball operations job. The whole backstory here is that the Marlins wanted to hire a president of baseball operations who would oversee Kim, and she said, no, I'm not about that. And so she declined her mutual option for 2024. That's how we got here.
Yeah.
Mike, somebody with 33 years of experience who has broken ground as the first female GM in all of U.S. male sports, right? I mean, this is not new territory for her. Maybe it's foul territory, right? But again, I think having her expertise, her 33 years of experience, and the track record of getting Shoemaker as part of the Marlins coaching staff and being the manager, and the trades that she's made and helping this team get to the playoffs. I think it would be an excellent addition if the Angels do it. And if they do hire really any president of baseball operations, maybe that's one more step removed for Artie Moreno and John Carpino. Maybe Artie is turning over a new leaf in the sense of, I am going to let baseball people do baseball things. And I feel like we kind of saw that. He did give a little bit to Perry in terms of that Trey Turner, wanting to sign Trey Turner. And Perry said, well, don't you think we need to spread the money around? Now, as fans, we go, get Trey Turner and spread the money around, you bozo. You got plenty of it.
Right.
But if we're going to play within, we talk about this all the time, if we're going to play within Artie's house and his box and his rules and his crystal ball, we have to play by Artie's rules, and we have to figure out how to be successful within that, within those means. I think Perry has done a very good job at that. And I think that Artie has kind of gone hands off a little bit. And so if they bring in a president of baseball operations and Kim Ng, especially if it's Kim Ng, I think that would be a huge boon for the Angels.
Show me you want to win. Don't just tell me. And I think that this would be one of those boxes he could check for fans that you want to win, because you're now getting baseball people to make baseball decisions and you're staying out of it. And you're just going to be a fan along with us. That would show me at least step one that he really does want to win.
Hey, coming up on Locked On Angels, there's some candidates out there for Angels manager. It seems like the field has kind of narrowed down over the last few days in terms of names that are out there and rumored to be interviewing. We're going to talk about which of those names that we'd personally like to see take over the Angels. We'll talk about that coming right up.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by Jace Medical. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world, and it's important to be prepared. There's unrest in the Middle East. There were fires in Hawaii. There are hurricanes and tornadoes in the South. There's earthquakes in California, so much more. And these can lead to supply chain shortages for medications or the inability to get medications in a timely manner. That's why you need a Jace case. A Jace case is a personalized emergency medication kit that contains 5 essential antibiotics that treat the most common and deadly bacterial infections. You can also customize your case and add additional life-saving medications based on your unique needs and your family's needs. I love that. Just fill out a simple online form, and in some cases, you can jump on a quick call with one of their board-certified physicians to get started. Jace handles everything for you, which is nice when it comes to medicine. Sometimes you're just tired of fighting for yourself, and you have somebody that is now fighting next to you.
And I can't keep track of it.
Exactly. And I need somebody smarter than me, right? So they handle everything from the online evaluation to licensed pharmacy medication delivery and ongoing consultation and care. So get yourself a Jace case at jacemedical.com. And when you do, enter our promo code Locked On at checkout. You'll get $20 off, courtesy of the Super Halo Bros. That's Locked On at checkout when you go to jasemedical.com.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Locked On Everydayers, be sure you join us on Friday for Fan Mail Friday. In fact, we're looking for your questions. So if you want to submit to us, you can do so at Locked On Angels on Twitter, at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Send us a private message, hit us up with a comment on Twitter or X or whatever it's called these days. And you can get in our voicemail line, of course. You can give us a call at 714-409-6396. That number is in the episode description. Call us anytime. Leave a 30-second voicemail. We'd love to hear from you. We've already got a few questions in our YouTube comments, and if you want to add a question there, just let us know it's for Fan Mail Friday, and we'll put it in the mailbag for you. Again, Fan Mail Friday is coming Friday on Locked On Angels.
So Johnny texted me this week, and then he tweeted it later on, and so you may have seen it under our Super Halo Bros handle on Twitter. This is what he texted me first.
I was getting snarky.
He said, just an observation. But since the end of 2022, there have been 7, potentially 8 managerial positions.
9 now.
Yeah,
with
9
Dusty
now.
Baker.
Yeah, with the Padres in limbo, with their guy leaving to go to San Francisco. And Joe Maddon is attached to exactly 0 of those job openings. And I felt, Johnny, I felt a little bit of joy from you in that text message and from that tweet. Like you were a little bit excited about that. So what do you think it is with Joe? Is it because he didn't do well with the Angels? Is it because he wrote a book and really bashed the front office? Is it because Joe's not interested. There was some drama when he left Tampa Bay. There was some drama when he left Chicago, even though he took both of those teams to the World Series and ended up winning one with the Cubs. Tom, what do you think it is? And why isn't Joe Maddon even being discussed, at least publicly, with these teams?
Yeah, he, shortly after he got let go, they asked him if he'd want to be a manager again. And I've seen this quote several times. He says, "Of course I want to manage. I'm really good at it." And
very humble.
Yeah. Apparently, not a lot of other teams feel that way, Mike.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
here's the thing. I mean, I tweeted, 7, potentially 8, and now it's definitely 8 because now you see Bob Melvin going to the Giants from the Padres, which I think is a stupid move on the Padres' part, to let Bob Melvin go to a rival in your division.
Yeah.
But I digress. When it comes to Joe Maddon, I just feel like I think that the game has passed him by, Mike. I honestly believe that. I think that he was on the forefront of analytics and stuff that we talk about all the time. I think he and Tampa Bay, they didn't invent the shift, but they brought the shift into the mainstream, because I remember how much ridicule they were getting from pundits and talking heads and baseball people about, like, what is the shift? What are you doing out there? You got your third baseman in the shortstop position. You got your second baseman in right field, all this stuff. And then everyone proceeded to do it for the next 15 years. Right. And so I really think he was on the forefront of being one of the visionaries as a manager for Major League Baseball. Now, I know he left the Rays and ended up with the Cubs and got the Cubs to the World Series to win it all. But Mike, you talk to Cubs fans, and if they're honest with you, they'll say, yeah, I don't think Joe Maddon won because of Joe Maddon. I think he won despite himself. And there were a lot of bullpen decisions that he made that were iffy at the time. And I mean, you're going to get that kind of commentary. Yeah, I know. Right. Yeah. Bullpen decisions, Joe Maddon. That's strange.
Weird.
But I think it's the fact that this game has passed him by, because he kind of held tightly to his principles and his decisions when it came to the Angels. And then, of course, he burnt that bridge by writing his book and doing a tell-all about the Angels front office. And look, I am not going to sit here and defend the Angels front office and pretend that they're saints in all of this either. There needs to be cohesion from the front office down to the manager. And I understand Joe Maddon was frustrated. But if I'm being honest, Mike, I think it speaks volumes that there are now 9 openings since the end of 2022 that could have potentially been filled as a manager by Joe Maddon, and he wasn't attached to any of them. I don't remember him being attached to any of them. I Googled just to make sure. I looked up Joe Maddon, and most of it is just him on MLB Network. I know he was on Foul Territory with our friends Eric Kratz and Scott Braun over there, and our non-friend AJ Przinsky. But and don't get me wrong, I think Joe Maddon is a great guest. I love hearing him talk about the game. I love getting his insight and whatnot. I think he's a great guest for shows. I think he still brings a lot of wisdom to the conversation. I know he talks to Brian Kenny all the time on MLB Network. So that that doesn't bother me that people still want to talk to him. But when there's that many openings and he says he still wants to do it, I just don't see it. And you look at Buck Showalter coming from the Mets, and he's attached to the Angels. We'll talk about him in a minute, but I mean, he literally just got let go like a month ago from the Mets, and they're already looking at him to be somewhere else. But what do you think it is about Joe Maddon that is so I don't know what the word is, like back away.
I think it has to do with cohesion with the front office. And I think that front offices want more of a thumbprint on the team that they're putting together, not just, hey, here's some players, do what you will with them. I think they want to be able to speak into that, and right or wrong, I think that that's the philosophy. And I think it works with some of the older managers. I think Dusty Baker has proven to see that it works. And Bruce Bochy as well. And we'll talk a bit about that tomorrow, but quite honestly, I think that really is what it boils down to, is that they don't want anybody coming in to buck their system. And Joe Maddon is not somebody that's just going to go quietly. In fact, when he talked about the conversation with Perry Minasian about being fired, it was pretty hostile. Like, it was pretty heated. And even Perry said, like, I told him, we're going to have to let you go. And Joe was like, why? And he said, well, I have to make a decision because we had lost so many in a row.
Yeah.
We have to make a change. And he's like, well, this isn't the change that you need to make, which I get. He's fighting for his position. But
sure.
I think that what those moments reflect is what it probably is like almost every day with Joe Maddon.
Yeah.
And even just in the sense that whether you're an analytics guy or not, I think that you need somebody that's going to really want to work with his boss on helping this team be really effective and really successful on the field. And so you do take some critiques, or you do take some direction. And what we learned from Joe Maddon is that Alex Taman would have some things and Joe would be like, nah, or he would do it kind of out of spite. Like, I'm going to go take that guy out simply because you wanted me to. And like, that just doesn't work. It just doesn't.
Don't go proving your point or somebody else's point during the game. Can we discuss this off the field and figure out really a balance there?
And I wonder if that has a lot to do with what fans, with what front offices are seeing with Joe Maddon. Is like, it just feels like there's some immaturity for a guy who's older and has been around for a really long time. And I think part of what happens when you do get older is that you don't have filters anymore, right? Like, you become who you are. And you shut your mouth. I think you do become more of who you are, which is why we do need to have maturity. And I think with Joe Maddon and with a lot of older baseball people, their immaturity comes out in, well, back in my day, we used to, and back in my day, and wow, all the stupid analytics, right? Like, and then it comes out really combative instead of going, I don't understand that. Help me to understand that. And I want to use this guy in the best possible way. So teach me how to do this. And then I'm going to teach you about what I've learned. But there doesn't seem to be any give and take when it comes to Joe Maddon and anybody that he works with.
Mike, we're just talking baseball, dude. You don't have to give out life lessons here about people who push back against an idea instead of asking, well, teach me about that. I don't quite understand, because that feels like a general life lesson.
Well, the best line that I had a mentor tell me one time is when we say, I don't understand, when we're talking about something, like, I don't get why they do that, or I don't understand why they do that. You're actually making more of a statement about yourself than you are about them, because you're saying you don't get it. They get it, and you don't get it. So ask questions like, help me to understand why you hold this position or this posture. Yeah.
I have to say too, I think one tick in Joe's category or his scorecard is the fact that Perry Minasian wasn't his boss when he took the job, and he was hired by Billy Epler. It's because Artie wanted an Angels guy. And as much as everybody asks us to, like, wouldn't it be great to have Tim Salmon do this and Garrett Anderson be the hitting coach and Chuck Finley be the pitching coach? I think, yes, that would be so fun to watch, but I don't know if it would actually work.
Sure.
The reason why I say that, and the reason why I have hesitation, is because of exactly what happened with the fact that Artie Moreno wanted to hire Joe Maddon because he was an Angels guy, right? And he was part of the coaching staff for the World Series run. So it made sense. But at the same time, I just don't think you can plug in these guys from old teams and think that it's all going to, run like clockwork. But again, it wasn't Perry Minasian who hired Joe Maddon. And it also wasn't Perry Minasian who probably wanted to keep Phil Nevin on for this singular year. I'm sure they did the best that they could, but at the end of the day, I think Perry Minasian needs the opportunity to hire his own manager, which he's going to get, and we're going to talk about in just a minute.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by FanDuel. Well, it is the World Series, and it's the Diamondbacks and the Rangers, like everybody predicted.
Wild. Yeah, just like y'all voted on FanDuel before the season, except for Jeff, our brother Jeff's wife's uncle. Didn't he put money down on the Rangers simply because they hired Bruce Bochy?
I think you're right. He did.
He made that bet preseason, and he's in line to win a bunch of money. So you can do the same thing with FanDuel, right, Mike?
Yep, absolutely. You can get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon, create a new account. Then you can get in on all the action from the first pitch until the final out. You can bet on strikeouts and home runs and who's going to win the game. And if you don't want to watch, you can bet on what happens next with a next at bat with quick bets, and they have it covered. It's fantastic with FanDuel. So head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon right now. You can step up to the plate in the World Series with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. And you can make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball.
Mike, there's been a lot of names floating around in terms of who's going to be the next Angels manager. And it feels like nothing's set in stone yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
but it does feel like we could be getting closer and closer to a decision being made. Some of the names out there, of course, John Morosi reported it as if it was new news because it feels like everybody else knew it as well. But I trust John Morosi because he seems
you got to be an everydayer. You're paying attention close.
Exactly.
Right?
He said Buck Showalter is a candidate for the Angels managerial opening. Perry Minasian and Showalter have a long-standing connection from their time with the Texas Rangers, so that's some incentive there. Mike, even Darin Erstad.
Yep.
You're welcome, Angel fans, because we've been talking about that the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Even Darin Erstad's name is out there. Somebody who's not so much attached, but is a potential candidate. And over on the Angels Win podcast, Victor Rojas was talking about how much he'd like to see Ron Washington be the Angels manager. And that's somebody that I think I'm a fan of as well. And then there's even talk about internal promotion with Benji Gill. So it seems like the names have been narrowed down somewhat in terms of potential candidates. So we decided if one of those guys gets picked today or tomorrow, or whenever it happens, who would we want it to be? Start us out, Mike.
Johnny, I want Perry to get his guy. And so I want to preface everything I'm about to say with I want Perry to get his guy. I think he deserves to have his guy in his final season under contract. I hope they do extend him if they do win this year. If they don't win, then it would make sense why they don't extend him. But
sure,
I think he's earned the right to have his guy there. And Johnny, with this team and the way that it's kind of shaping and forming with a lot of young guys, why not Darin Erstad? I've been banging that drum for 2 years. I'm going to keep banging that drum because I think Darin Erstad.
Three if you count Super Halo Bros.
That's
I feel
true.
Like we were talking about that on our old show, too.
I would love to see him there, not because he's just a former Halo. And I know you talked about like, hey, let's bring this guy in and bring that. That's actually not why I would want him there. I think he's great with young guys. He was the Nebraska Cornhuskers baseball coach for 8 years, was 267 and 193-1. It was the fourth best in Nebraska baseball history as a head coach. He was named Big Ten Coach of the Year in 2017. He had 6 top 4 finishes in the conference standings, and he made the playoffs 4 different times. I mean, this guy was fantastic with the Cornhuskers, and 3 different times finished second in the Big Ten tournament. It just seems like he's good with the young guys. It seems like he's good with pitchers. It seems like he's good with the team. I always equated him to like a Jim Harbaugh when he was coaching in San Francisco, right? He was there for a couple of years, got that team really good, and then really fell off the cliff in his last year. And they had some injuries, but I think he just can be really aggressive. And Darin Erstad would maybe be that similar type of coach.
Like wear out their welcome a little bit?
A bit, yeah. I think so. So you maybe sign him to a 4-year deal or a 5-year deal, right? And I think maybe in a year or two, I think he has this team in the playoffs.
Whipped
and I think,
in shape.
I think that after that, they're in the playoffs and they're competing in the playoffs. And I think by year 5, you might be irritated with him. You know, who knows? I could be wrong with him, but there's just something about him that I've seen from the very beginning that I really like. He seems to be a good manager, really handles himself really well. And I think he'd be great for these young guys. I mean, think about like Mickey Moniak and Logan O'Hoppe and Zach Neto having somebody like Darin Erstad, the guy who was gritty, gutty, leading off, played first base, center field. He was the guy that caught the final out. I think that there would be a lot of like excitement to play under him. And I think he comes with a lot of really great credentials. So I'm going with Darin Erstad.
I'm kind of with you, Mike, in the sense that I really want to see Perry Minasian get the guy that he feels like is going to work well with the front office. And I think I said this a few weeks ago, but I'm kind of 2 minds here. One is that you get a guy like Erstad who has the chance to grow with a team and, you know, be the coach or be the manager who guides this young team to be who they are now. I look at the Diamondbacks. I know Torey Lovello's been around longer than just a few years, going back to about 2016, 2017, and this is a very different team. But at the same time, I think that since the Diamondbacks drafted well and brought those guys up, Lovello's kind of been able to usher them along together, and I think that's a really fun idea. I think so. A young coach, or I keep saying coach, a young manager would be fun in the sense that you get to see them grow with the team. And so I think Benji Gill fits that category as well as Darin Erstad. I think that those would be excellent choices. Mike, on the other side, I'd like to see a veteran manager guide our young guys along too. And I think about Ron Washington, a guy who got the Texas Rangers to back-to-back World Series. I know they didn't win, but man, shortly after taking them over, he gets them from 4th place to 2nd to the World Series in 2010 and 2011. So he's got the experience. He's been to the playoffs. He recently said he would still love to be a manager, even though he's doing great as a coach for the Braves right now. Marcus Semien is somebody who got better under him when Wash was the infield coach with the A's and Marcus Semien was still there. I mentioned this a few episodes ago. Marcus Semien was not a great defender, and now he's going to the World Series with Texas. So to me, I think Wash makes a lot of sense for this team. And then somebody that is very clearly, I think, the front runner here for the Angels and being their manager is Buck Showalter. And he brings more of that same experience, Mike. And what's funny about Showalter, and I know a lot of our Locked On Everydayers know this, but he has the curse of getting a team so far, and then the next year that team wins the World Series. It happened with the Yankees. It actually happened with the Diamondbacks. He was their first manager. They actually let him go because they felt like he was a little too hard-nosed with the Diamondbacks players. And then they went on to win the World Series in 2001. And, he was with the Rangers, then the Orioles, and then the Mets. And so I think if there is a manager who can guide what the Angels have now along and push them to that next level, I think it's Buck Showalter for me. And I honestly believe that even if they get to the playoffs and don't go all the way, which seems to be the Showalter curse, at least they're taking steps in the right direction. And at least the year after he gets let go, the Angels will win the World Series. Am I wrong?
Evidence points in that direction.
Right.
The only hesitation I have, maybe more than just one, is I wouldn't want the Angels to fall into this role of, well, look what these older guys like Dusty Baker and Bruce Bochy did and got these teams into the playoffs. I wouldn't want them to go down that route, because it seems like we've kind of gone down that route with managers over the last couple of years, although the Brad Ausmus decision was going after a young guy. So, but leave it to the Angels to mess it up. But honestly, if they get Kim Ng, that would be great. And then if they go and get somebody that Perry can work with, I'm on board. I think Darin Erstad could grow with this team. I think Buck Showalter would be a 4 to 5 year guy if this team is successful. But he's always been proven to get a team to the playoffs, not be successful in the playoffs, but at least get them there. And that's right now what the Angel fans want, right?
Yeah, we absolutely need that. And I think it's crucial. So no matter who comes in, they have to be able to take these guys to the next level. And the coaching staff that they hire around them needs to be able to take it to the next level as well. We can't just hand out jobs just because you have a heartbeat and are breathing and standing like we did with Matt Wise. We can't do that anymore. The Angels have to be smart about this. And if whoever Perry gets, whether it's a young guy like Erstad or an experienced manager like Showalter, there has to be cohesion from the front office to the field.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. And everydayers, we know that you're here every day, and we're here every day, Monday through Friday, and we got all the Angel content for you. And if you want to reach out to us, you can find us on social media. John, tell them where.
Yeah, you can do that at Locked On Angels on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. If you're on the audio side or you're watching on YouTube, even if you are on the audio side, come on over to YouTube, start commenting on today's show, and get in the conversation. We always do our best to get back to you guys, and we really enjoy the conversation with you. Hey, Mike, what do we have on deck for tomorrow's show?
Well, if the Diamondbacks and the Rangers prove anything, they prove that you can lose 90 to 100 games just a couple of years ago and then find yourself in the World Series after making some really key decisions. So what decisions did the Rangers make specifically that maybe perhaps the Angels could make? We're going to talk about that tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
We hope you'll come back and join us for that conversation. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, guys, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.
84 wins. I don't think you get in the playoffs in the AL with 84 wins.
Not at all.
Amazing that the Diamondbacks got there. Congratulations to those guys.
Congrats.